Hi, welcome to another episode of Diagram Drawing. Today we'll be illustrating the shutdown condition. So what is the shutdown condition? The shutdown condition is basically the condition that must be satisfied in order for a firm to decide to shut down. And this condition occurs in the short run when P is smaller than AVC. So what is the reasoning behind this shutdown condition and how do we illustrate this reasoning using a diagram? For today's purposes, we'll be looking at a PC firm, but please note that this shutdown condition holds regardless of whichever market structure we're talking about. Even if we're talking about other market structures such as monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition, the shutdown condition stays the same, which is P smaller than AVC. So for a PC firm, this is the usual diagram that we see, whereby the PC firm, being a PC firm, being a price taker, will face a horizontal demand curve, and its MR curve is the same as its demand curve, with the usual MC and AC drawn in. Now, the profit maximizing point that is being experienced by this PC firm is given by the pink point, where MC equals to MR, and the profit maximizing quantity is given by Q. At this profit maximizing quantity Q, the average cost that's incurred is actually much higher, given by AC. Now, I think it is pretty obvious to see that if this PC firm continues to operate, this PC firm will be incurring a loss given by the yellow area. Now, incurring a loss given by the yellow area does not mean that this PC firm will have to shut down. It really depends on where its average variable cost curve is at. So now, let's say that the average variable cost curve is drawn as such. Now, first of all, why is the average variable cost curve lower than the average cost curve? This is because the average cost curve is actually a summation of average variable costs together with average fixed costs. So diagrammatically, how do we see where the average fixed cost is? The average fixed cost is actually just the vertical distance between AVC and AC. So we have previously established that the yellow rectangle is basically the loss made if the firm continues production. Now let's look at what happens if the firm stops production. When the firm stops production, it does not mean that it doesn't make any loss, because things like fixed costs will still need to be paid, because remember that fixed costs are costs that are fixed regardless of the level of output. So this means that when the firm stops production, fixed costs will still need to be paid. What is the total fixed cost, and can we see this from the diagram? We can. The total fixed cost will just simply be taking average fixed cost multiplied by the current quantity of Q. So the total fixed cost will be given by this pink rectangle, which, as you can see, is much bigger than the yellow rectangle. So what this means is, if the firm shuts down, there is actually a greater loss made as compared to if the firm continues production. So the decision at the end for this firm will be that this firm will continue production. Now we can see that in this case, the shutdown condition at the quantity Q is not satisfied, because at the quantity Q, the price that is charged is actually higher than the average variable cost that is incurred at quantity Q. So since P is bigger than AVC, the shutdown condition does not hold, is not satisfied, and that is why this firm will continue production instead of shutting down. Now let's look at an alternative situation whereby the AVC is actually drawn much higher. So what this means is, again, the yellow rectangle represents the loss that is made if the firm continues production. But if the firm decides to shut down, the loss that is made is actually just the total fixed cost that it has to pay. And you notice that this total fixed cost that it has to pay, the loss that is incurred if it shuts down, is actually much smaller as compared to the loss that is made if the firm continues production. So in this case, maybe you can think for yourself, should the firm continue production? No, it should not. Because when the firm stops production, it only incurs the fixed cost, which is given by the pink area. And this pink area, the loss that is incurred if it stops production, is much smaller as compared to the loss that is made if the firm continues production. So we can see that in this case, at the quantity Q, the price that is charged is actually lower than the average cost incurred, average variable cost incurred at quantity Q. The shutdown condition is satisfied, and that is why the firm has decided to shut down. So when do we use the diagrams that I presented in this video? Basically, we use these two diagrams when we are trying to show why only variable costs matter when a firm is deciding whether it should shut down in the short run. So just a final note of reminder, the diagrams that I've shown in this video, although I've used the situation of a PC firm, we can easily extend the same analysis to firms in other market structures such as monopolistic competition. Thank you.